up, everybody? Hopefully, everybody can hear me, and I guess I'm about to find out here. We're live from Texas, from Fort Worth, Texas, to be exact, where NASCAR is actually heading to race this weekend. Uh, and to test all this technology, we're going to bring in my crew here. Stephen Malazzi, freshly shaven, apparently.
Whoa,
Guess he's
hold
got
up.
some. I guess he's got had some business to attend to or something. And we also have Mason Maggio here, who just completed a wonderful race, clean race weekend at Talladega, looking Texas this weekend. Boys, how we doing? And can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, no, I got you loud and clear. But man, an exciting weekend at Talladega per usual. Big shout out to Carl Long, NBA Motorsports, for the opportunity this past weekend. It was a lot of fun getting to work with that group. We barely made the show, but it was so cool to get those guys in the show. I love Carl Long and that whole team. They got a special place in my heart from me making my debut with them a couple of years ago. Glad we could get them a decent finish. Wish we could add a couple more spots there at the end, but regardless, a good day for MBM in their first race of 2025. Hopefully, it leads to a couple more in the future.
How about you, Steven?
Bro, I'm writing a freaking paper on trains right now. I don't even know, man. I'm like, you know, you think driving a race car is hard? Let me tell you something. Blue Book legal citations. That's the shit that'll get you right there. Promise that's ass. I'm ready to roll over and go to sleep. Um, I feel like I look like I've aged 25 years in the last 2 days. Finals week coming up. Stephen J. That's my Talladega. That's my Daytona. That's my making the show by 1/1000th of a second. Finals week, baby. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're all excited for you. And Steven, if you got the I don't have X. I can't watch the Instagram chat since I'm recording on my phone. So if anything interesting happens in there and you want to keep us posted, please
We
do. But we had Talladega this past weekend. Mason, you noted how you just barely made the show, and you guys obviously put in a valiant effort to get in a car that, shout out to Texas, David Starr, obviously drove to a great qualifying spot last year. What is that? Friday qualifying on Friday. What is that like when you're kind of just waiting to see how everything pans out? To kind of see your fate to be able to race on Saturday. Obviously, in an event where we sent three people home.
Yeah. It was interesting, right? I mean, we beat. I remember we beat one car. We were the second car in line, so I was like, all right, we're off to a good start. We beat one of the cars that it was go or go home, which was the 29 car. And then, it was just unfortunate because we're seeing more and more cars, go ahead of us on time, and we're thinking, man, it's not looking good. We might go home, and there's a very good chance of it. And towards the end, a couple cars didn't have the laps that they wanted, and weren't quite where they needed to be. And then we kept getting a couple more cars there towards the end. And I mean, me and Carl, we were standing right by the leaderboard, just thinking in our heads, like, how many more do we need to beat? What's going to be the difference between us making the show and going home, essentially? And thankfully, when we had that moment, that was huge for that team. Those guys, I'm sure people saw on social media posts, they were picking me up and we're all high-fiving and screaming and cheering. I mean, it's that in itself for a team like NBM is a win, right? I mean, they've been, kind of in and out as a part-time team in the Xfinity Series over the past 2 seasons. But that was a big moment, considering, yes, it was the same car that David Starr drove the year prior. But, the thing that people don't understand, too, is, like, everybody finds a way to get better when they return. So, and we thought we were in good shape, and we were close, but no cigar. But, hey, we did it, and we were able to put together a good showing. Our car was fast in the race, and we were able to, run as high as second and be able to put together a good result. Like I said, I wish I could have got a couple more spots there at the end, but I learned a lot in my first super speedway race in an Xfinity car. But big shout out to Carl Long, Density Energy Pouches, everybody at MBM Motorsports for all the hard work. Looking forward to being back in the car at Texas in the 53 with Joey Gase Motorsports, and we got a really cool paint scheme this weekend with Density Energy pouches there for their home race. So a lot of exciting stuff going on, and we're still digging behind the scenes and always trying to make things happen.
So this is a home race.
I just sent a text in our group chat, and I forgot that RJ can't make graphics because he's on his phone. But I literally texted Josh Ryome because he asked me, is Maggio going to make the race? And he's like, I'll keep you posted, qualifying starting now. And I remember texting him. I'm looking at it. Hold on. Let me find the timestamp so I can tell you when it was. Hang on. Maggio's not going to make it is at 6:03 p.m. I say Maggio's not going to make it. There's like 9-10 cars to go. I'm like, he's done. He's done. There's no way he makes it. But the Alpha Prime cars both had brought apparently cars that were not set up well for qualifying. So shout out Tommy Joe. Tommy Joe must have really liked you on the show because he told Parker Retzloff to go 1/1000th of a second slower than you could have gone there, just to make sure that you made the race. And I remember calling Josh and thinking, he freaking made it. I don't know how he made it, but he did. Pulled it off. Very excited for you.
Yeah.
I see the message. I'm trying to display it. Also Maggio isn't gonna make it. That's some Debbie Downer stuff right there, Steven. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, he'd asked me to keep it posted, and the text before was me sending him. It was a two-faced conversation. I got admitted to go study in Japan next year in the winter. So I texted Josh the screenshot of my application that got accepted. And the text after that goes from we got accepted in Japan to also Maggio's not going to make it. Then the text after that is Joey Gase laid down a fucking heater. And I have no idea where that came from, but beat literally everybody but RCR. So I don't know what the hell Joey Gase put in that race car, but that one had some mustard underneath the hood, had a little bit of power. And
yeah, I was qualified. Where did Joey qualify? Where was it?
It was either third or fourth.
It was fourth.
It was the RCR cars, and then I think he barely lost to Allgaier for third or something like that. It was like intense at the top for Joey Gase. I really, for a minute, thought that there was a chance that we were going to see a Joey Gase front row start, which would have been the greatest qualifying run I have seen in NASCAR since Reed Sorterson had the fastest lap at Talladega in round one, like 5 or 6 years ago.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is it would have been equivalent to Reed Sorensen in 2016 with the premium motorsports.
27 car, baby.
Yeah. It was just it was crazy. But good effort for Joey, good effort for that whole JGM team. It was cool to get to work with them a little bit in the race, but excited to be back with that group, and hopefully we can carry the momentum that they built in Talladega and carry it out the rest of the year. So we got obviously Texas this weekend, which should be pretty decent, and then hopefully we'll just continue to build the notebook. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, what a juiced up qualifying session that was. Go on, Steven.
Let's talk about Talladega. Let's not beat around the bush here. Let's get into it. Let's talk about how we are in what I think is the worst 4-week stretch of Cup Series racing in my lifetime. I do not think that there have been 4 races that have been this miserable in the entire time. I think, what were the last 4? Off the top of my head, I forget. But I was thinking about this before.
I think we've had
Darlington.
Darlington, Bristol, Dega.
Martinsville.
Martinsville.
What a freaking dude, you show me that lineup in 2019, I am juiced. My God, we are in for 4 consecutive weeks of the most electric racing on the face of the planet. And here, legitimately, these were 4 of the. I don't think Darlington was terrible, was it? But otherwise, Byron dominated. But The racing throughout the field wasn't as bad, but it wasn't good. Like, I'm not happy about Darlington. Like, I wasn't walking away from Darlington like, can't wait to show all my friends the next race because that was so exciting. And it's like, man, how I think I tweeted something about it. I was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we watching the same thing over and over again and just continuously being like, this is okay. This is what we're happy with on track. Martinsville was not packed. Bristol was not packed. And I'm afraid if you keep it up, you might see Talladega not packed. And Talladega is always packed. I think it is legitimately one of the greatest places on the face of the planet. Like, I don't think that you will find a party anywhere else quite as insane as Talladega. And I think it's something that everyone has to experience. Like, it's just, you can't believe it. And for some people, it's not going to be their forte. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying that everyone has to go, but I'm saying, like, if NASCAR, the party scene, is up your alley, Talladega is one of those places you have to go. But if we keep rewarding fans with the idea that the only reason they should go back is the party, we're going to lose some of the fans who go still. And I don't understand what we're doing. And Ellen Sawyer said something on NASCAR Sirius XM that blew my fucking mind. And excuse my French, but I am so disgusted by what he said that I cannot. And this is a dangerous game, like going towards the Cup Series director. But I gotta say it. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. He said something along the lines of 23 liters, 67 lead changes. What are we trying to fix, or something like that? Are you kidding me? We had those lead changes because we were fuel saving. When we were bumper to bumper, we maybe had one car change positions at the top 10 for the last 5 laps when we got 2x2. Are we at Talladega, the race of the year, the race that people are so juiced up to see? And you watch the Xfinity's finish side by side where they're 3 wide and people are moving up and people are moving back and people are going left and right, and you got 3 wide at the finish. Like, it was still controversial in its own right, but the racing was electric, right? It was really, really good racing. And now here we are, the marquee tracks of NASCAR, the Darlingtons, the Bristols, the Martinsvilles, the Talladegas, the bread and butter, and we're walking away with fans saying that friggin' sucked ass.
Yeah, I think we've got honestly, like, a big problem. Like, because let's be real, this was a weird day of weekend, like, when it came to the racing. Because, like, the ARCA race wasn't anything crazy. Then again, it's ARCA, so you have your fair share of mix-ups. But
also, wait, because it will get shuffled. We won't really probably talk about ARCA again. Congratulations, Lawless Allen, former Rayon Brothers Racing driver, teammate, first ARCA win.
Yeah,
huge for him. Happy for him. And I saw him in victory lane after the race. That was great. That was awesome to see.
Yeah,
favorite part, one of my favorite parts of the weekend. Continue, Maggio.
Yep. Shout out to Wallace Allen. No, he earned that. And before I get into it, I did predict at the beginning of the year when he announced his deal with Venturini, I said he is going to win races, and he proved just that in race 3 on his schedule. So shout out to Wallace Allen. Good for him. Good confidence booster for him. So hope to see him continue to have some success throughout the year. But anyway, back to what I was saying. It was just a weird weekend because, like, even the Xfinity race wasn't, like, crazy entertaining either when you really, like, dumb it down. It was, like, there wasn't a whole lot of cautions. The racing up front was fairly tame. I say that lightly, but, I mean, it was fairly tame because even when I got up in the pack, it was, like, it was aggressive, but it was like, it wasn't to the point where it was like, okay, well, they're going to wreck at some point. I need to back out. It was like, no, we're aggressive, but we're still really tight together. Nobody's moving. Nobody can really do anything because we're all bunched up together. Like, nobody's wanting to make moves and be aggressive, at least in the Xfinity race. And we saw a lack of cautions in a race last year that had underdog drivers fighting for the win off of turn 4, like Brendan Poole, Joey Gase, Cesar Baccarella, Leland Honeyman, and so many others, and you didn't even see that in the picture this year. I mean, like, it's so hard to get up there and expect to make moves when everybody was bunched up 3 wide, just stacked rows and rows back. You can't make moves doing that. You can't be aggressive. You can't be ballsy. And I mean, the same thing in the Cup race. I mean, it was just who was out front was going to be the factor in leading laps. But it was the same thing. We were rows of three wide. Nobody's making moves. Nobody's trying to get to the front and make things happen. It was almost like it was too conservative this year, kind of all the way around. And like again, going back to the problem with the Cup car, it is starting to become a major issue because I really have, as a fan of the sport that loves it with all my heart, I really have not enjoyed watching the Cup races the last 4 or 5 weeks.
No.
It's just not been fun for me to watch as a fan. I look at Rockingham with trucks and Xfinity, and I'm like, a little bit of a caution fest, but you know what? Good races. Truck race was a fuel mileage race. We saw an underdog winner. That was cool. Xfinity race was very entertaining. Saw the Alpha Prime cars running towards the front. Jordan Anderson's 87 was running towards the front with Austin Green in his first oval race of the year and all that other stuff. That was genuinely entertaining. And, the conversation led into, well, is the Cup car going to go to Rockingham? I don't know if you really want to bring the Cup car to Rockingham because it's probably not going to be a great racing product for the fans to watch. And, like, again, if I'm NASCAR, I got to look at this heavily and figure out what is the solution to providing better racing. And part of that is going to the teams and saying, what is it going to take for the field to be closer and even more competitive than it already is? And, try to get feedback from that and engineers and see what we can do to make this car better. We're not gonna be able to move forward and progress as a sport if we don't change the car, the package, and whatever else we bring to the table, for the Cup Series. This is the 38 to 40 of the best stock car drivers in the world.
Yeah.
They should be able to showcase that, and the car is holding us back. So until we figure that out, I don't care if you're the best or the worst driver, you're not going to be able to do anything with that racing product when literally you can't even get close within a car without losing the nose or getting loose and not being able to make a pass and just hoping somebody makes a mistake. Or, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and I got three more points about this that are very, very important. One, we got a question in the chat that I'm going to address because it's one of my 3 points. Are there any updates on the increasing number of commercials and the addition of side-by-side commercials with only?
Oh my gosh, yeah, dude,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Look, Artie Kepner, who they talk about all the time at Fox, done a lot with the sport. God bless him. It is time for a change in that office. That is a welcome change.
Yeah.
What are we doing? 10 to 5 to go. You run a 5-minute, 4-minute block of commercials. Are we out of our minds?
Yeah.
What? So I don't know what the deal with that is. It is ridiculous. There was one point where we went to commercial, came back for 6 laps maybe, and we're right back in commercial again. Mm-hmm. And I was watching with one of my friends on the couch, and I'm like, man, this is just ridiculous. And he's like, are there always this many commercials? And I was like, yeah. Now there are, but this is like especially, egregious.
And I apologize for interrupting, but I was so tempted to tweet something when that happened.
Oh,
I genuinely was, because I'm like, we have got 10 laps to go at Talladega, where everybody's still bunched up. Everybody's starting to get a little bit more aggressive as we're closing in on the last couple laps of one of the most exciting racetracks on the schedule. And you're telling me that we're going right to commercial and are not watching this? Why? We could come back and they could be like, oh, caution's out, like half the field piled up, and we're not going to know what happened. And it's like, why are we missing out on something that could be a big moment for the sport? But just even in general, I don't care if it's Talladega. You should not go to commercial when you've got anywhere from 20 to 30 laps to go in a race. That's unacceptable as a broadcast. And I don't like to criticize the broadcasts and whatnot. Everybody's got their own opinions. But, I mean, that's just straight up ridiculous and completely, unacceptable. How are you supposed to get fans engaged when you're showing commercials left and right?
Yeah.
We've got to be more creative than that. We can't just keep looking at the racing product. We got to be able to be creative in the booth and say, hey, let's look at this or look at that, and try to find a way to still be engaged in the racing. But we're not going to move forward with showing people commercials. At that point, you might as well be like, oh damn, we got a race in the middle of our commercials. That sucks. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just, it was so ridiculous. I was so tempted to say something, but then again, a bunch of other guys had beat me to it, and I was like, you know what? The message was received by a lot of people in the industry, and a lot of people feel the exact same way. So I'm gonna let them do the talking for me.
Just because I was curious, I just Googled how much ad time is in the average sports event, and it's somewhere between 45 and 50 minutes per event,
Yep.
which is standard, right? But you got to think about the logistics of that from a Cup Series perspective. There is probably at least 30 to 40 minutes of caution in every Cup race that we watch, right? And think about Talladega, right? How long the cautions are when we have a cleanup for like a big wreck, or for even even just a couple car wreck where we have to tow them back to the garage. Caution laps are so long. A 2-car accident can be a 10-minute caution, right? Why are we not just filling the entire? I don't really need to hear these guys talk under caution. I'd much rather have green racing and show me the commercials under caution than I would. I feel like we watch so much caution time on television. It's ridiculous. And then literally we'll go green, and 8 laps later we'll be in another commercial. Just show me the fucking commercial during I'm on something else today. Just show me the commercial when we are under caution, man. I don't really need to watch the caution laps. I'll move on from that. I think it's very clear that people don't like the ads. RJ has been just getting shut out today, and will continue for at least the next couple minutes because I got to move on to the next point. We designed the perfect. This is two. We designed the perfect intermediate car. And there are some people who are like, no, the intermediate car is not great. No, shut up. You don't remember what it was like a few years ago when we had the Gen 6 in the like miserable era, where it was like, you don't remember what it was like watching Gen 6 Texas. You don't know. You don't know what that was like. Okay. You don't know what it was like to watch MTJ, while incredible, lead 392 laps at Charlotte. You don't know. You don't know. If you're tweeting at me that this car is not a good intermediate car, you clearly just have forgotten the past of the Gen 6. We designed a phenomenal intermediate car and then immediately started wiping intermediates off the schedule. What? Why? Okay, so now if we had like the 2017 schedule where 26 or 22 out of the tracks are all intermediates, we're freaking sailing. This is great. It's all intermediates. We're all happy. But now we've switched. We've got a ton of road courses and a ton of short tracks and a ton of. This is my wet dream 8 years ago, is a schedule like this, but not with this car. Why are we just doing the opposite of what is? To me, it's so apparently obvious, and it blows my freaking mind that it's not more obvious to other people who are like in charge of the sport. But maybe I'm just an idiot who's like, maybe I'm just super smart and I'm the only guy who can see this, right? I don't think that's the case, because based on Twitter, a lot of people can see the problems here. But that to me is mind-boggling, that we have wiped probably 6, maybe 7 intermediate races off the schedule and replaced them with short tracks, road courses, turned Atlanta into a super speedway type beat. And now we're just like, oh, but we have the perfect intermediate car that sucks everywhere else we go. Third, last but not least, it is impossible to bring new fans into the sport when this is the quality of the racing of our marquee events. Even Talladega was down 6% in viewership, and we really can't afford that. These are the races we need to maximize that stuff on. I will say, bonus point for Cletus McFarland, that's the kind of guy we needed racing, a guy who is not from a crap ton of money, who is built on personality, drive, and being likable. Because the core of sports, what drives the viewerships, is having someone you like to root for. And that is going to end up being Cletus McFarland on an extreme scale. I would be shocked if within a couple years he is not full time in either ARCA or even trucks if he gets enough experience. Rooting for that guy. I think he's great for the sport. I think he's exactly what he need. And the dumbest tweet I've ever seen is saying I don't like him because he's a Dale Earnhardt, good old boy, stereotypical guy. That doesn't matter. It's not about whether or not you like him. It's about growing the sport. And even if you don't like him, that's a good thing because we need villains in NASCAR. I'm done. RJ, what you got, baby? Time for you to open that beautiful mouth of yours. That was really weird. I regret saying that.
No, you don't. But yeah, Cletus McFarland as a villain is certainly an interesting thing. I would hate for fans to become that rogue to even put him in that conversation. But yeah, I mean, to sum up what you guys have all said, it was an odd Talladega weekend. I think it was different than usual. Obviously, I mean, for me personally, I had so many other things going on leading up to the weekend, but I still felt like it wasn't just hyped up to what it usually has been when it's Dega week, at least for me, because even with all that we do, there's still moments that we can still feel like fans of the sport and feel excited for a race weekend, whether it's what Bristol weekend, a few weeks ago, and now Talladega weekend. So I mean, we went over this a few weeks ago. The last time we were on the show, this car is a piece of junk. The next gen car is an absolute piece of shit. Pardon my French. We
Nice,
built,
nice. Yeah,
we
swear,
built,
RJ. Swear. Get in it. Get into it,
we
baby.
we
Woo.
we've talked about it before, and I'll always remember what the glorious Tommy Joe Martins, who helped Mason Maggio get in the show this weekend, said, was that we built a road course car and just are putting it everywhere else. We can take you back to, we talked about the intermediate racing where yes, it has improved, and then we've wiped intermediates off the schedule where we have one once in a blue moon. But you go back to 2021, in my opinion, was our short track racing better? Yes. Was our super speedway racing better? Boy, I watched some highlights from it. That 2020 2021 package, those were some
Mm,
interesting times of racing, some fun times of that super speedway package. We may have sent Ryan Newman into orbit, but to be honest, we've sent somebody into orbit the last 5 super speedway races anyways with this car. um, and so it's that's we've ruined road course racing, in my opinion. Has been altered with this race car. We took away the slipping and sliding aspect, and turned it into something else. And obviously we can talk about the fuel mileage on the super speedway races. It's just boring. I mean, these guys, I listened to what Denny Hamlin said in his podcast this week and said, Joe Gibbs, if you're listening, put me in an Xfinity car for a super speedway race. He said Daytona would be his preference sometime in the near future because those guys are actually able to control their own destiny. I mean, it's just like I turn on the race, I finally get a free day here in Texas, to watch the race at Talladega, the big Cup race, and it's nothing thrilling. I mean, they're just you when you know what's happening as well. You know they're in fuel conservation mode, and maybe there's somebody that was new that turned in and has never turned on NASCAR before, and they decide they see this going on. They're like, "Wow, this is cool." They're parading 4 wide for 30 plus laps. This is incredible. But to us who know exactly what is going on and know the drivers aren't trying and know the drivers come out after the race and said, yeah, I think the only reason why some of the drivers came away probably not yelling and screaming about that race at Talladega is because they didn't end up in the fence. Like if there was a big wreck on that last lap and we tore up like 20, 25 cars like we usually do after riding around doing nothing for the first part of the race, oh, I'd be pissed. Everybody gets pissed. You hear it all the time. I just rode around for this many laps just to get wiped out in the end. It's pointless. So, Daytona allows a little bit more, I don't know, dicier racing because it's a tighter racetrack. But Talladega, I think, honestly hasn't seen a good race in the next gen car, or a great race. I could name you a million races before this race car came out that were better than any race we've seen with the next gen car at Talladega. But just like we were talking about weeks ago, we just watched an abysmal Bristol race. We have killed Bristol with this race car. We had a mid Darlington race. We have a garbage mid Talladega race. But Rockingham Xfinity Series was an absolute banger, and people are like, "Bring the Cup Series to Rockingham." I don't want to see that absolute
Nope.
garbage race car piece of freaking trash racing at Rockingham. Nor do I want to see it at North Wilkesboro. I wish we sent the Xfinity Series there instead. I'm glad we do get the Truck Series there, but nonetheless,
I
we
am
will continue to
legitimately,
talk so much about it. But car
I,
size.
I'm legitimately more likely to watch Xfinity than I am Cup at this point in my life.
Yeah. Steven, I gotta agree with you 100% on that. Like, I know I'm involved in the sport, and I guess I say that because, like, I know more people in Xfinity and trucks than I do Cup. I'm just being honest with you. But just in general, too, the product in both those two series compared to Cup is just so much more entertaining to me to want to tune in and watch because I know it's going to be exciting and those guys are going to get 110% out of their equipment, whether it's for freaking first or 30th. It don't matter. Like, they're going to find a way to give it their all and put on a great show. Very rarely do I walk away from a truck and Xfinity race and be like, well, dang, that was boring. Like, there's always a battle going on that is entertaining to watch versus the Cup Series where it's like, man, we just don't see it. We're just not seeing it anymore. We haven't seen it for the last couple of years, and especially this 5-race stretch, we've seen it more than ever. Like, it's frustrating because I agree with you guys. I look back at, old races from 2017, 2018, 2019, and look at tracks like Bristol and the plate races and like the road courses. And it's like, man, those guys were giving it their all every single lap. And now they can't even do anything because even if they get within range of another car, it's just going to upset the balance. And they can't do anything other than maybe wait for the next guy to make a mistake and then make the pass. But it's just I don't know. It's tough to watch as a fan because that's what everybody grew up watching was the Cup Series and NASCAR's 40 best drivers go balls to the wall, lap after lap after lap. And it was always exciting. Now I just don't see it as much. So at some point we got to make a change to the car. The teams have got to be able to look at what's going to create a better racing product with NASCAR. But until then, I just don't really get excited to watch Cup races anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm yawning at the thought of a Cup race. At the beginning of the next gen, there was a novelty to it, right? Where nobody had it, nobody had figured it out, and for the first couple years, it was like, wow, this is a great equalizer. Like everybody is kind of on a tame playing field. And now we can all play the game, which is something that we'd all sort of asked for. It was a little bit of more equalization where you're getting kind of sick of the domination that we were seeing. Now it's even worse than it's ever been. Now it's like that if you do not have one of the best cars in the field, you're probably not running up front anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we are at a point where more important than not only the car and the driver is simply the strategy you employ. Like, there is no way at Talladega the move of the race should be a block while exiting pit road to divest the strategy of the Toyotas. Because if the Toyotas had survived that Ross Chastain block, they probably blow by most of the field, go on to get an entire string on the outside line. And then when the rest of the field comes back up, 3 of them block, move up, and then we have 3 Toyotas, 2 by 2, all the way across, is what I predict would have happened if Chastain doesn't throw that block. Literally, the move of the race changed it. But I'm looking at the top 10 right now. There is, just by the way, because Logano got DQ'd, and even so tied for 10th, every single car in the top 10 is from Hendrick, Gibbs, 2311, or Penske. All of them. Every single one of them. And it is like we don't have any more great stories. And the rest of the even the rest of the playoff field, 3 of them are made up from cars from those teams. So like it's like the entire playoff field is going to be those 4 teams I just mentioned, essentially, plus what? Right now it's Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain and AJ Allmendinger. Crazy pull, by the way. AJ Allmendinger being that high up
Yeah.
this late in the year. Shout out to that guy. I mean, pulling together that Call Lake team, just freaking digging. But it's the novelty of the next gen is gone. The problems have far outweighed the benefits. It has ruined most track types. I'm over it. I'm over it. That's
Yeah,
the end.
that quote that you mentioned, I saw that today from Elton Sawyer about what do you want us to change with how many lead changes there were. I think statistics are statistics. You have to actually watch what's going on, which I'm sure he did. Um, but I
Did
mean
he?
that quote
Did
is
he?
just
No, no, no,
ridiculous.
no. Seriously,
I hope so.
seriously.
Maybe he
They,
fell asleep too
I
because
mean, how can you watch the race and say that? I'm asking. This is like an open question here. Answer it if you want. Like, without, but outside of
because it's
being
Talladega. Honestly, the aura of Talladega is what keeps us watching it, right? And I mean, I would say the aura of Talladega, but also the love for the sport. I mean, all three of us are going to sit here, and I mean, at least me, because it's my job to do it, and I love doing it, is to watch the entirety of a race and see what unfolds, and we get to the end, and we're going to crown a winner. Because I mean, how many NASCAR, especially Cup Series races, have we watched where it may be a snooze fest for 450 miles, but boy, let's get that overtime restart and we're going to have this crazy finish. Oh, I take you back to the worst race I have ever watched in my entire life, 2020 Kentucky. Boy, that was one of the worst NASCAR races I have ever watched in my entire life. And what did it come down to? An overtime restart with a
was that
four wide finish on
Cole
the
Custer,
final
right?
lap. And everyone's like, oh boy, yeah, Cole Custer, rookie wins. Everyone remembers Kentucky. Kentucky, that was the worst race. A 550 package with that garbage repaved racetrack at the state that it was in literally produced the worst race I've ever seen in my entire life. And you know what? I watched that thing all the way through so I could see Cole Custer win that race. But it's hard to get through some of these races. The race at Bristol. I mean, I got to be sitting here. What do I got to pop 10 density energy pouches to get myself through the
Wow,
damn race?
wow. What a
Because we're just sitting here
thank
getting very upset with the product, and for people like us, it's not because we want to sit here, because I feel like some of the higher ups are probably sitting there in their suits and ties at their in their high chairs at their tables saying, oh, these guys just want to be negative about something, blah blah blah. We love racing. I mean, you guys spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a part of this sport, and I love covering it. We don't want to be negative about the sport. It's because we love it so much, and we love the NASCAR Cup Series so much. Both of you guys want to race in the NASCAR Cup Series in the future, but we recognize that it is at a terrible spot. We have introduced a terrible race car that has unfortunately tainted the product that we have seen week to week, to where, boy, a month ago, I'm looking at the stretch, I'm like, Bristol, Darlington, we got Talladega. I mean, damn, this is going to be a fantastic time. And it really is not. It's actually been unbearable, quite frankly. And now we look at these upcoming racetracks where I don't think, in my opinion, there's like a horrible racetrack on the NASCAR schedule anymore. I mean, a lot of those tracks that we felt like were at the bottom of the totem pole now have one race, like our Texases, our Poconos that people hated on, New Hampshire, which I'll think are fine tracks. Texas, we can, argue about. I think it's gotten, as it's aged, it's gotten a little bit better. Xfinity has put on some bangers, but I've always said Xfinity would put on a banger in a Walmart parking lot. If you put them in the Walmart parking lot, we would get a banger from the Xfinity series. So I don't know what it'll take. I don't know when the Gen 8 is going to come out, and what stupid technology they're going to put in that race car to make it seem like it's really cool. Um, I don't know. I honestly get at a loss for words, because we're gonna go to Texas this weekend and probably have a normal weekend. And then on top of this, just like you said, the commercials part, the people presenting our Cup Series don't take it seriously. I mean, I how in the world, I'm sitting right here watching this damn race with 10 laps to go, side by side commercials. Like, are you kidding me? Like, especially after a race that's had nothing. This is your part to have something, to give us something, give the viewers something, set up a finish after really we've watched nothing. Like, nothing leading up to this has mattered. Here we go, 10 to go, Talladega. That's the most important part. And we're watching side by side commercials of NASCAR, right? we're watching NASCAR commercials during a Talladega race. I don't think that's happened. We got to what, 5 to go? I think they came back 5 to go. I'm pretty sure that was the call. We came out of side by side, and Mike Joyce said 5 to go here at Talladega. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean to always compare. We know Fox stinks, and they are the bottom worst NASCAR broadcaster right now. But NBC literally came out last year and said, what was it, for Daytona and specific races, they were literally going to go commercial free under green. Like, how do we go from that to over here where we're going to commercial, we're on split screen commercials coming to 5 to go? I don't understand it. Like, I am so mad that we actually signed what till 2027 Fox Sports. What is it? Or no, past that, right?
Uh,
What's the amount? Was a 7 year deal that we re-signed them to?
it had to have been something like that, anywhere between 5 to
And
7.
I
But
love the people at Fox. People at Fox Sports are great. I mean, we can go up and down the list of crew, pit reporters, people like Josh Sims and the entire crew are amazing people. And I love that they have premier jobs in the sport. But damn, just
I mean, wait. Let's not separate people. Like, I'm a great guy. I like to think I'm not a good race car driver. Like, there's things in the universe that exist that need to be said. There are people at Fox who are great people who are not good at what they do anymore. I'm not. Let's not beat around the bush. Like, let's not freaking like. For example, and this is actually different. This is a little different because this is not a case of she's not great. This is a case of she's probably misutilized. Jamie Little should not be in the truck booth. And that is not a secret. Like, that is not something that she is probably my all-time favorite pit reporter. And that is not like an over-exaggeration. I think she's number one. She's up there with Kligerman, who is phenomenal in the booth as well. Kligerman, I think, is a great example of somebody who did a great transition from pit road to the booth. Like, that's not a comment on whether or not Jamie Little is a quality reporter or a quality person. It's a comment on, at some point, same thing with like Artie Kemner, right? Great guy. I've met Artie. Great at his job years ago. The production at Fox has gone down, and that falls on the executive producer of the broadcast. Like, you have to at some point realize when what you're doing isn't working. And again, ironic coming from the guy who averages a 31st place finish in NASCAR. But but like, the point still stands. I'm hoping we find some reinvigorated life into broadcast now that we have new partners on board, which I'm really excited to see. Because maybe if they go lights out with it, it'll force the quality. Like, you know what they say, like, competition breeds quality, right? Because you have to keep up with your competitors. And it's kind of like, oh, I hope these other guys do a great show and put on something magic for us. Also, another stat, because I'm a numbers guy, and I love the numbers real quick about my next gen point because I was trying to find it. So I didn't misquote it. So 10 races so far. Okay, 10. That means that there have been 50 top 5 finishes this season, correct? That math checks out. How many of them do you think have come from the top 5 drivers in the point standings? It's a good question.
right.
Half.
yeah,
25 out of 50 of all the top 5 finishes have come from the Hendrick 24, 5, and 9, and the Joe Gibbs Racing 11 and 20. That is insane. That is like an insane lack of parity in this sport right now going on. Just wanted to point that out because you think about it, we've had 3 super speedway races in the first 10 events, and somehow even those aren't breeding results where those guys aren't running inside the top 5. I'm good. I'm done ranting. I actually could end the show. I'm happy. I got it all out of my chest, I think.
I think this was a perfect because obviously my hotel backdrop here, I had some technical obstacles to get through on here, so this was perfect. Just obviously we didn't have a guest planned. This was a
Yeah.
perfect episode, clearly, to just blow off some steam. We'll be back as we say.
Blow it
We are
off.
so back
Yeah.
next week with a guest
Yeah.
and obviously another tremendous episode.
Oh, I knew it was coming. I knew it
And
was coming. We
so
are so
we will
bad.
be certainly back next week, but and hopefully more positive things to talk about. But I think sometimes
Yeah.
you always need an episode to blow off some steam. I saw the clip of Jeff Gluck on the teardown, going ham about a totally different subject. But getting angry about that as well as other things. We know Denny
What was
Hamlin
Cluck mad
usually
about?
spent that was the All-Star deal. That was the offer NASCAR offered to the teams to bring
Oh,
Euro stuff to
Yep.
the All-Star race, and they said no because it'd be too expensive. And Jeff Gluck was like, "Cry me a river."
I actually disagree with Gluck on that one. And
Hamlin said
look,
it'd be $2 million. I think is what he said for 2311. Is what I read today to
I
make
think
that
Denny said
happen.
it was 300 grand, but I don't know if that's I don't know. Either way, he brings while I understand the line of thinking, like I get the argument that he's making. I also think that if NASCAR is going to develop a car without the inputs of the team and pretty much just make it spec and control the process from the top down, they should not ask teams to invest millions of their own money to then figure out ways to fix the car, the shitstorm that they diverted. Because to me, when I hear NASCAR say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you an opportunity here at the All Star race to do it," that's NASCAR saying, "We need ideas to fix this friggin' thing. So why don't we just try and pass it off as a way of us like letting you figure it out?" When in reality, it's them shifting the burden of figuring it out to people who are probably more equipped to do it. Um, that's my knee jerk reaction when I saw that. I don't know. I'd have to think about it more. I don't. My brain's fried. I got to get back to writing about the automotive bankruptcy crisis of 2008 compared to the wreck of the Penn Central Railroad bankruptcy in the 1970s. When I say riveting stuff, I mean riveting stuff. Almost as exciting as the NASCAR Cup Series race at Bristol. Not quite there, but it's pretty damn close.
Well, now that you mentioned that, my brain is fried. Thank you for that. We can head into certainly a little preview of Texas this weekend, where unfortunately Stephen Malazzi's not whipping the number 2 truck this weekend.
What?
Um, but Mason Maggio is in fact whipping the number 53 car. Some people know I am here in Texas on a Chick-fil-A corporate assignment, as I do some side quests in my life. A huge opportunity for me to be here. And funny enough, it falls right on Texas weekend coming up this weekend. So I know I got a phone call to jump on with David Starr later today, Mr. Texas himself, to talk some Texas because I said, hey, man, been down here, obviously been to Whataburger 4 times this trip, in and out twice. Both of them tried for the first time. Fantastic, gotta say. Um, but what are some stuff to do here on race weekend? What content can we provide to the people with the time that I have in my 72-hour work weeks? And he said, give me a call. So I am, in fact, going to do that. But let's preview this weekend really quick. Obviously, we have all 3 series. We have Truck Series Friday night, Saturday Xfinity Series, Sunday our beloved NASCAR Cup Series. What are expectations? The track seems to change just a little bit every time we get there. Mason, you're going to be racing on Saturday. Um, so far, the weather, it's not incredibly hot down here. We'll see what the track temps are like. We'll see how slick it is. It's been raining lately. Hopefully, it doesn't rain this weekend, knock on wood. But what are you expecting? Are you excited? Do you like Texas or do you hate it like Tommy Joe?
I have never been to Texas, so until I get
Oh,
back and get on there for the first time, and see how the race plays out is when I will tell you. As a fan and watching it over the last couple of years, obviously the Xfinity Series, Truck Series has put on some pretty good shows. Cup, again, that's the conversation that's a little lackluster, but Xfinity Series has had some pretty good racing there over the last couple of years that I remember. Truck as well, very entertaining, very tight, competitive field. And I expect it to be a little bit chaotic. Texas is one of the tougher tracks on the schedule because both sets of corners are completely different. I've had a lot of people compare it to like a Rockingham that I've asked, and both corners are completely different. It's just its own beast. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. Being able to get on track, be able to kind of dissect what it's truly like, how the cars react in racing conditions, and even just by themselves. Um, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a new challenge. I'm always up to trying something a little bit newer. So I'm excited to give it a shot, and we'll put together as good of a weekend as we can with what we got, and make sure that our Density Energy pouches number 53 is in a good spot, and we do as good as we can, and have some fun with those guys off the racetrack this weekend. So we'll see what we can do, and I will let you know if it's a good track or not next week.
Sweet. And Steven, I imagine you're not coming to have fun with us in Texas.
No, I'm not doing Texas because I have a final exam actually the day of Texas. So could not get out of that.
Well, which day? Friday, Saturday,
Friday.
Sunday.
Yeah. And then Saturday, wait, I'm doing racing stuff this weekend. Don't you guys worry. I'm going to the Crayola Experience to celebrate Tricky Triangle's birthday with the Pocono team. That's right.
Hey, okay.
Autograph session. Happy birthday, Tricky. Going to be celebrating that birthday on Saturday at the Crayola Experience. That'll be a good time. I got some hero cards and some Blumenons to give out to the team who shows up. I just picked up the fire suit while I was in Dega. Getting that thing on the plane was crazy because I didn't pack for it and I didn't have the suit bag. Whoever sent it down with RBR, we are so back, baby. Whoever sent it down with RBR just threw it in Tommy Joe's hauler. And then I had to lug a fire suit around Talladega with me. That was a good time. I thought about just putting it on and walking around Talladega Boulevard.
I didn't think you took it off.
No, I mean, it's somewhere.
Oh, dude, you didn't walk around Talladega Boulevard with that thing on?
I thought about it if it wouldn't have reflected so poorly in me, and there was one reason why I could have justified it, right? Like, it's a weird thing to do from the industry perspective. Like, if other drivers saw you walking around in your fire suit on Talladega Boulevard at 1:00 in the morning, that's pretty narcissistic. But I was with Snapback Sports, so all their team, great group of guys, love all of them. Their NASCAR correspondent's a guy named Tim. The brothers who are at the top of that are Jack and Casey, and they're freaking awesome too. And then they just got a Icy Vert to join their team. So Dawson texted me. He got me a nice steak dinner, and we were like, "What if we made content where I walked around Talladega Boulevard in the fire suit and saw what kind of attention it garnered, and like who did not notice me / would anybody even be able to?" And shockingly, even without the fire suit, I was recognized no fewer than 4 times on Talladega Boulevard. So the conclusion would have been, thank you. There are some Stephen Bellagio supporters out there. They do exist.
Yes, motion.
One of the people that I met in Talladega, and this was earlier in the day, when I was on my way to pick up the suit from Tommy Joe, stopped me and said, "I know you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "I don't know your name, but I know who you are." I'm like, "That's really cool." He's like, you're on the Motor Stardom show, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." I'm like, wow. I'm really disappointed because there are only 3 of us. So if you watch the show, it is pretty tough to not realize that those are our names. But I was impressed that he was able to put the face to it. So yes. Next time though, me and Maggio, what we're doing is we're doing a Motor Stardom from Talladega in October. Okay,
that's
me,
perfect.
Mason Maggio, and you, RJ, we're all going down. RJ's going to be the operator. Me and Mason are going to wear the fire suits up and down Talladega Boulevard and see what kind of motion that gives us, and that's going to be the content we create for them. I think that's it. I think are we good to wrap up? We got anything else we want to talk about? Texas? I think it'll be a great race for the next gen car. That's it. That's all I got. I'm good.
Well, I'm excited for this weekend. I cannot wait to hopefully run into Mason Maggio, and obviously we will certainly have to make that happen for Talladega. Because I was about to say, if I was there this weekend, oh, you know damn well I would have made you put that fire suit on, and you would
Yeah,
have been walking up and down Talladega
yeah.
Boulevard.
Oh, dude,
Um,
I don't know. I can actually say this for a fact, that on this show at Talladega, I was not the drunkest person on Saturday night. That is a fact of life. Out of the people here on this show, which one wasn't here, one wasn't in Talladega, I was definitely not the drunkest out of the people who were in Talladega. So,
all right,
let me tell you. Wait. I got one more thing to
it's
add. This is
Talladega.
the point we're ending on. This is the point we're ending on. Mason Maggio does have motion. I have to give him credit. I will not divulge into details as to what this is about, but let me tell you, Mason Maggio, I owe you a former apology. I was not familiar with your game. Um, does actually indeed have motion. Does pull some shotties. Congratulations, Mason Maggio. I even got it.
What a
Honestly,
guy.
if I was wearing a hat, I'd tip it to you.
What a
Uh,
guy.
and on that note, it's been the Motor Stardom Show. RJ, Maggio, Malaz, the three of us, every Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern. We are live. We'll see you guys next week for more content where we break down Texas and maybe have another guest on. Thanks for tuning in.